Whenever you want to start.
Okay. Okay, welcome. We were just talking like this is really funny for me every time I start recording because we were already talking. But welcome to the Blooming podcast. I'm really excited to have you right here. Like, not only because many of the people I invite here is because I want to know more about them, and even if we live together like for 4 months, he's gonna introduce to you so you can understand what I'm saying. But we never had like enough time to talk. Like we could talk for hours, and time just goes really fast when you talk, and you're like a I feel like you're a person that you really know how to listen and you're really present, and they will feel that. I know that. But I think we never had time to talk about the subjects I want to go a little bit deeper here. And it's funny because we were living together like for 4 months and we never talked about it. So first of all, I want to ask you like to introduce yourself however you want to. I never introduce my guests because I want you to say like what do you want the world to, or the people that are listening to see you and understand about you. So welcome. And what I do want to say is like you're a brilliant person and you're full of talents, and they will see that he's a multi-passionate person, but also he's a man that has I feel that you have like a you're very sensible and you have been able to go deep in your emotions, and I think that you can feel how I have been talking a lot. I have been talking a lot about that, and is how when a man lets like his feminine energy, kind of a way of saying it, but I think that this word is like not so well understood. But I feel that feminine energy, and I have been talking that to my to friends, and telling them like it's going more deep with your emotions, is being able to interact with art and many things. So welcome. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I guess like I would introduce myself by saying I'm just a human from planet Earth. My name is Domacio Cates. I am an artist, musician slash carpenter slash I don't know. I have so many interests that I feel like I can't really pick one. So I kind of juggle a multitude of different hobbies that I'm trying to turn into my job in a sense. I guess I'm a crypto enthusiast slash like just what is it, revolutionary in a sense. Like I believe in the technology, and I'm trying to help educate other people, whether it's just planting a seed, tell them about it, and if they look into it for themselves, then so be it. Or just giving people information that I didn't have when I first got into some of the hobbies that I got into, like crypto or whatever. But I recently made an interesting achievement. So I'm currently in the process of putting my, I guess, a single that I made, a song, on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. I finally figured out a way to do all that. So, and I started a LLC for my music, basically, so a music label, essentially.
Okay.
So I'm my own artist on my own label is what I'm doing. So to navigate that field and just to learn about it. And it's very, very difficult to do it all by yourself. But that's where I'm trying to kind of outsource some of the, the workload a bit. But so that's, I guess, a gist of what I do. I just do music. I work here in Atlanta is where I live. But I work for the local 479 union. I'm a carpenter. Sometimes when I feel like it, I guess, or when there's a movie. So I work on movies, and I basically build the movie sets, and just anything that has to do with carpentry, or I'm trying to get into paint and just do a lot of different artist stuff. There's a lot of different options for me in my career going forward, because I'm still pretty new to the union and everything. But so I just on my off time, I try to just do all kinds of things that help benefit other people. Really, I feel like that's my calling here in the world, is to help people in whatever way that I can, and that's healthy for me to keep growing as a person. For example, like I have a really I know it's like too many dreams, right? I have a dream like to help like all of the homeless people in the world, right? For example, it's just one of my many aspirations, and I think that it all kind of comes back to money, so that's kind of, I guess, what I stand for, is to educate people about money, educate people about just their own ability and power that they have, and then really just try to spread the love, just love people, because without love you have so many bad negative side effects that come from a non-loving environment. And from some, like I'm speaking from my own personal life here, that I didn't always have the most stable upbringing, but it doesn't define you as a person, as long as you're willing to pick up your feet every day and just keep going, because a million times in my life I could have essentially just quit what I was doing and just gave up. I think everybody has that same story, in a sense. If we're all here today, we've kind of overcame like a lot of whatever trauma, crap, or whatever in your life. Life is crazy. But I feel like if everybody can get on to the same page, instead of being so divided, and I think it's all purposeful, though. Like, everyone is purposely divided so that we can't be on the same page.
Okay.
That makes sense. Like, I guess I have like some ideas about the world, and maybe I can be wrong if people bring me the evidence, in a sense, but I navigate the world from a standpoint of deception.
Okay.
In the sense of that, I feel like the whole world is trying to deceive you a little bit, right? And you just need to be cautious of the deceit, and then recognize when people are being genuine, and when people are, their intentions, their motives, things like that. I think I have a very strong sense of being able to tell when somebody is, when they have mal intentions or good intentions, or things of that nature. But I mean, we can all be wrong. It's just, I guess, it's a moral code that I kind of live by with how I interact with people in the world. That makes sense. I know it's kind of a heavy concept there, but yeah. So tell me a bit about like what you do again. I forget. You mentor people, correct? Like you.
Yes, I do. I mentor people. I like, maybe I find it also interesting because I usually kind of say what I do in my podcast, but yes, for the people that are new here, I do mentor people and enterprises. But right now, like, I'm focusing also my energy to create experiences where people can connect more with love, through these experiences where we connect, like, art, gastronomy, and we also like, we have also music, that I find music so important to all this process, and I find so interesting. And I was gonna ask you about it also. And we connect well-being. Meditation has changed my life, but every day I find many ways to meditate differently and to set up my mind in a way that I can love more and involve more with my life in a loving way, and like making up about my life, like, I think we connect with that, and is that when you decide to live from that place of love, you start inspiring people without even noticing. So, I want to ask you about two things that you talk about, and it's like, music. How has music helped you go like deeper into you, and how do you feel like when you have other men that you see they don't interact so much with their emotions or with art? How do you think that art and music lets you step up in the world in a different way as a man? Because I know that just looking at you, you can feel someone that has um like a man that has a different perspective just by looking at you, because I know you can express easier, even with words, it goes easier for you. And I think, like, I know you have a work with that, and you still work with your emotions and everything, but how art plays a role in that?
That's a great question. Um, I think for myself, it's, I guess it goes like kind of back to like expression, or just like, so people that don't go into their emotions, or like you were saying, guys that I see that can't, I guess, go as deep into emotions or whatever. I think that maybe that stems from either like an insecurity, or a lack of love type situation. So like, um,
Do you
I,
feel men, sorry to interrupt you, but it's just, do you feel men are afraid to interact with art or this kind of, like yes, with art in general, or with this part of them, or being more sensitive because they think that is being vulnerable or feminine?
I think that guys are way more sensitive in a different way than girls. So like, you know, the stereotypical like thought would be that girls are really sensitive, correct? But I feel like they're equal. Like men and women are equal in the sense of emotions, because so men are very logical. We are very direct. And this goes back to like, I don't know, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the Fibonacci like curve, but there's like a diagram. Basically, it's like a pattern that's found throughout nature, that it's like a male energy is more straight, right? And I could show you like a diagram. I can pull it up. And female energy is more like circular, it's round. It doesn't take a direct path to the destination, if you will. But they still get to the same place, if that makes sense. Like, so one is very like square and it goes in on itself, right? And then the female energy, if you will, is more circular, but they both go to the same place. So let me just try to find it. Fibonacci spiral is what it's called. Here, So I'm actually using it's called a gimbal. I can, let me see. Oops. So this is what the Fibonacci spiral looks like. And so this line essentially here is like feminine, right? And the like squares. So it starts like a big square, right? Big square. Then you have like a little square, which is like, you know, it all works off of this inner two squares. So you have one doubled, two, like I don't know how to describe it. Then that I can't remember what the actual sequence. It's the Fibonacci sequence, but the male energy essentially that's running through this is all just straight lines. If you were to go in, you know, to the center, like, or however, like it's all straight, and then the female energy goes in a spiral, right? So what I mean by that is that pattern is found throughout nature, like, right?
Yes.
So I've actually studied this a lot. I'm fucking weird, but part of my language.
No worries.
I've studied this like extensively, and it's very hard for me to explain through language, because I think you and I have had a conversation about this, is that words are kind of abstract concepts that are concrete. They're boxed in. If you and I were to be able to talk through our minds, like through telepathy, we would be able to, you know, have a different way of understanding exactly how I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? But we're limited through words. So these concepts of, you know, these spirals, if you will, like circular energy versus more direct straight lines, they work together. They're equal in a sense, but they're different. And that's how I feel like
we have both energies, like every human. Okay.
I think everybody has both energies. It's just about how you choose to tap into that energy. I think it's also like, you know, something that popped into my head when you asked the question was consciousness. So I know it's a weird word, I guess, but consciousness is truthfully what we're all experiencing. So like there's different states of consciousness, correct? Like you can have a altered state of consciousness if you drink alcohol, right?
Yes.
You can have an altered state of consciousness if you consume drugs, or even food. Sometimes you can get like a sugar high, or if you work out, you have endorphins that are released in your body and can elevate your consciousness. Through music, you can elevate your consciousness. Things of these natures like that are very interesting to me, because when you go to the root of everything, music, it's a vibration, you know, everything is just a vibration, truthfully, like when you go down to a molecular level or whatever. So how does music make you feel, and why does it make you feel a certain way? Why does a vibration make you feel? Like, why can it change your vibe, your whole being? Like, if I listen to rap music all day long and I just get into like thug mode in a sense, like I feel like I'm kind of lowering my energy, like, or I'm more identifying in a sense or with the male, masculine, like straight, like, I don't know, not sensitive energy, right? Where I don't know. I like that music sometimes, right? But then there's some days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't know, I feel more like a lighter vibe, like, and my music actually reflects this. It's kind of funny because some days I'll make a really happy song, right? The next day, if it's cloudy outside or something, you know, overcast, my music might be a little bit dark, you know, kind of more, yeah, just dark. I don't know how to describe.
Yes, I get it.
So it's like we all have the ability to choose what energy you want to tap into, if you will, or like kind of use for the time. But I think that it goes deeper than that as well, because some people may not be able to tap into that energy because of certain like traumas in their life, or maybe just other outside influences that lower their state of consciousness. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, like, so I'm constantly trying to do things that elevate my state of consciousness, whether it be, and I'm a bit controversial, but I will be completely honest with people. You know, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I mean, you can say whatever, however you feel, but I think that in the near future, like psychedelic compounds and other natural things that elevate your state of consciousness are going to be more, like, utilized more.
Yes.
And help people understand the world that we're living in. I think like it would be a beautiful thing if the world could really like kind of wake up and everybody work together instead of like hoard all of the resources and everything. Like, I'm a strong believer that if the entire world was to have one strong trip of magic mushrooms, I think the world would be a better place.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because it brings you into a place of love.
But of course, doing it with the intention of like knowing yourself better and understanding better, no, like trying to escape from your reality.
Yes. Yeah. So that's, you hit it right on the nail head there. It's about the intention, because I don't know how to describe it. Like, I can get a benefit from anything, like, or I can turn it into a problem, you know? So like, for example, food, you know, I can get a nourishment to my body by buying the correct food and doing, you know, a good diet plan, if you will, or whatever I'm intaking. But I have the same choice to eat shitty food and destroy my body and just be at a lower vibration, in a sense. Like, but that extends to like anything, whether it goes to the music you listen to, if it's up, I don't know how to describe it, uplifting or dark or whatever, whether it's if you drink energy drinks or if you drink water, you know, like things like that. If you're drinking acidic things when you are an alkaline being, like, you're messing with your chemistry and
Even sex, if you use it for like with the intention of like addictive intention, or with intention of loving, it's gonna do something different to your body.
Well, so the way that the magic mushrooms actually work is they contain a chemical that basically changes your brain. It's so it's called psilocybin.
Yeah.
That gets converted by your liver, I believe, into psilocin. Psilocin stimulates neurogenesis, which is the forming of new neural pathways in the brain. This means that, like, through, like, you know, I would say like through microdosing. I'm not sure if you ever heard of this. And I'm not a scientist or anything, so I can't like 100%
You actually are. Like, there's a man that is called Nassim Haramein, and they haven't give him a science novel. I know how you call that in English, like Premio Nobel, like science novel, you know, like
Nobel.
because he hasn't studied like in an institution, but he's like the person that has get closer to his theories are the ones that get closer to explain how quantum physics work and how the world works in those terms, even closer than Einstein. I do think that you have like this ability to you're really how do you say autodidacta, no, like yes, like you teach yourself. Yes, like you can learn by yourself.
Yes, yes. I'm a huge advocate for self-learning. I think that everybody should be trying to question everything. Uh, I'm gonna ask you like a question because I think I want to move the conversation into a more like I guess a different topic just due to time.
Okay.
But how do you feel about the world? Like, do you feel that it's set up in a way for you to succeed, or do you feel like there's something wrong?
Okay. Before I answer, I just don't wanna. Before we move to crypto, I just wanna ask you.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't wanna forget it. I no. You were talking about yes, that, but it just popped into my mind. But okay, I'm gonna answer, and if it pops up again, I'm gonna ask.
Gotcha.
But I think it's important, but I'm gonna let it come again. So I do think the word, repeat the question.
Um, wow. Nah, I think I would.
We collab.
Um, so I think I asked you about the world. How do you feel about the world? Like, do you feel that it's set up in a way for you to succeed, or do you feel that it's set up in a way for you to fail?
Okay, I think we have a really strong limiting beliefs, like all over the world. I think we have a culture with really strong fears, and I think right now we do have a society that is living more from fear than from love. But I
Yeah.
also do believe that we are like I feel our generation, not not everybody, but most of our generation, and I'm also a mother and I can see it in my kid. I think we're tapping more into love. Even with every like many people can hear me and say, but we're in a war and everything that's happening. How can you say that? And I think that it's also because we are so tired of fear. We're so tired of living in drama, on fear, that I'm a deep believer that we're so tired that we're gonna start to see change faster than we know, like than we can even believe.
Yeah.
And for that, there are many things that have many structures that have to be destroyed. And I don't
Yes.
know exactly how, but I do believe that everything that's happening, all the chaos, I don't think it had to be the way it's looking like, but I think everything's perfect. And if we have to leave it this way, if it has to be like when you say, okay, let's rebuild this building or let's destroy it and build a new one, I think that's kind of what's happening with humanity. I think that it's gonna look chaotic, like since pandemic, it's gonna look chaotic for a while. And I think chaos, I just remember what I was going to ask you. Chaos is important, and you teach me that. Like one of the biggest lessons the United States gave me, and all the experience with you, was like embracing emotions and not only happiness. Happiness, I heard yesterday a woman, a Spanish woman, said like happiness make us stop stupid. And I don't think that she said it in such a funny way that I understood what she want to say, and is that only going through happiness and not embracing all the emotions. And I wanted to ask you about it before moving to crypto. Maybe you can relate or connect to what I'm saying, because I do know that you have an opinion on this. And is that I love the way you see sadness, anger, like all these emotions, because you embrace them and you use music to feel them. Like you don't hide them. You know that they are part of you, and I like learned there that I can feel my emotions, and they are part of me, and I'm gonna embrace them, because if I don't
Yeah.
love me when I'm there, I'm not loving me in my wholeness. So yes.
I think I kind of pushed you really, really hard, but it's because I saw something in you like me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I don't know why I do things. I feel like it's almost unconscious. Like in a sense, like it's from a higher consciousness uh coming down to my consciousness, just telling, like almost taking over what I do and just doing it. I have no idea the reason why in the moment, but it may be 5 years from now that you reflect on that moment and you're like, wow, it makes sense. Like, or, you know, and I don't know, I've just always had this ability about myself, like to kind of do that, or like to be, I don't know, on the front end of something for whatever reason. Like, but I did push you pretty hard in the sense of like trying to understand certain concepts that, like, I don't know, I was trying to get across to you, but you received it very well. Like obviously you being able to, reflect on that. I mean, that's amazing that you got that from your time here. But yeah, no, I think it's very important to feel all of your emotions. Um, I think that I can say this because I've been through all of the emotions. I mean, everybody can say that, right? But like, I've been very up and I've been very down in my life. Speaking from all different angles, emotionally, financially, just like spiritually, vibrationally, whatever your thing is, right? Um, I've been up and down in everything. And something that I've come to realize is that I'm the happiest when I'm able to do what I love to do. Right. So I love making music. I don't know why I love that. It's just my hobby. Some people love to paint. Some people love to, I have multiple things that I love. Like I love to help homeless people. I don't know why, but that's one of my dreams. Like I sometimes I'll go make a bunch of sandwiches. I'll go to the store. It costs like $10. Go to the store, buy bread, you buy a pack of bologna and cheese, and you make bologna and cheese sandwiches. You pass it out to homeless people, and maybe you buy some bags to put them in, right? Literally just give them a sandwich. Drive around
Did
your
you
city.
ever, sorry, did you ever feel, not because you didn't have a home, like a physical place, but maybe do you feel that that desire comes from a place of compassion, because maybe in some time you felt homeless, like you didn't feel part of any place?
I feel that way now.
Ah.
Uh, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I feel that the systems that we are a part of, that we didn't create these systems, we were born into them. These systems are meant to control you. Um, I don't know how it is in Colombia, and I do a little bit, but can I ask you, is it easy to get a job there?
No, it isn't.
Not, right? Um, Trying to think like how valuable is your guys' money there?
It's really low.
Really low in value. If you were to come to the US, it's like really expensive, right? for you guys?
Super expensive, like 4 times.
Yeah, right.
Like for a dollar for us is like 4 times over there. Like our dollar, like our pesos is gonna be $4 above.
Yeah.
Kind of.
This concept of money is very interesting because that's where inequality becomes a thing, right? So you have governments, or you have like just organizations that were here before we were born, right? All of this stuff has been happening in the past, and it only takes a couple of generations to forget what has happened, and then you just live your life, your short little life, and you're a slave to a already going system that has been passed down through families that have been controlling everything. I know it sounds a bit conspiracy theorist, but I think that if everybody was to question their reality, they would be able to see like the bullshit, if you will. It's part of my language, but I think people need to hear it like that. You're being deceived. That's where I go back to this concept. You're being deceived everywhere that you go. Just based on the nature of our society, you have to break the constraints in your mind of that everything that you're told is true, right? You have to figure it out yourself. Like, so I like that you had talked about astrology earlier. That's something that you're like into, right? And you're trying to get people more into that or whatever. I think that that's amazing because there is a connection to us and the stars for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but I think like ancient civilizations understood it. If you can look into it yourself, you know, with even the zodiac signs or whatever, the you know, the Big Dipper, you know, all these constellations that would come every year, and how the earth changes through thousands and thousands of years cycles, right? All of this, if you open your perspective of the world that you live in, so suspend your disbelief, meaning don't think for a second that anything is true, and don't think that anything is wrong. Just open your mind to all possibilities, and then through that process, deduce your own understanding of the reality that you live in. So for example, and this is kind of a lot to unpack there, but for example, if you question like, man, it's weird that the pyramids are here, in the sense of that we can't do that today. Like if you were to go to Egypt, you saw some.
It's so weird you mentioned that, because I was just thinking about your tattoo on the pyramids. It's just like before you say it, I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about this kind of stuff.
Amazing.
So, I don't know. It's just, for me, I think about these things, these huge, huge buildings that are made out of like the hardest substances on earth, like granite blocks, right? And I think that people's minds can be controlled through, you talked about it, fear. The society lives in fear, right? Fear of whatever.
Everything.
Because we all work on basically it's a pretty simple function. It's a fight or flight kind of system, right? But the overall function is fear, your fear response. So like your level of fear will decide if you're going to fight or if you're going to get the fuck out. Part of my language. But you know, you're gonna flee, right? You're gonna get out of the situation if you're too scared to fight. If you know that you're gonna beat your opponent in a sense. I know this is very primitive, but you're going to fight because you know that you have the advantage and you're going to win that situation. And that concept can be applied to anything. But what I'm getting at with that is that process can be tapped into, whether it be through religion, whether it be through money, whether it be through emotion. Like, I can play on your emotions and get you to do something for me, do me a favor, or whatever. These concepts can be applied to anything, like, but it's based on your fear of disappointing me, right? It's a small little thing, but it's based on your fear of disappointing me or upsetting me, or you not wanting, like, you fearing the confrontation of an interaction between you and I. So when you apply that concept to society, right? Why is everybody fighting right now? Money. So money is control.
Do you think it's actually money?
I think it's money that is okay. No, it's the people that control money. That's the problem. So
but do you think it's really money, or what we think money can get us and we don't know that it's not money? We're just like so craving love. I know it sounds really romantic and super like but I think that's what actually everyone is craving, and they think they want more power and more money, but it's not actually that.
No, we all just want love. Everybody's love is rare in its own way. And I've found this concept repeating itself over and over and over and over. Just in our conversation, we just came to that conclusion, right? That everybody is searching for love for whatever reason. Some love different things. Like, some people may love skydiving, some people may hate it, right?
Yes.
You are a free individual to decide what you love to do, or what you love and what you like, or how you like it, right? That's why you and I are so different, or similar in a lot of ways. We have that decision to love whatever we want. And I think that's, at the end of the day, the process that runs the world. But we haven't elevated our consciousness enough because we're suppressed by money. And the way that we're suppressed is that if you had more time to do what you wanted to do, right? Helping people and loving people, instead of slaving your life away for money just to survive, just to live. You have to pay taxes on everything. But where does money come from? Do you know where money comes from? I mean, people have a vague understanding of where money even comes from. You think it comes, like, where would you say money comes from?
From banks? No, banks.
Yeah, money comes from banks, yes. But I mean, how do they get it? How do they get money?
From us, from taxes.
From taxes, yeah. So the way that it's all done is through basically, have you heard of something called bonds?
No.
It's like a piece of paper that says, hey, well, I'm going to borrow this amount.
Yes, from paper, yes.
And then they kind of trade it. And then, so basically it's a big, like, huge scam. Money is a scam. I'm going to just tell you that right now. And if you could prove me wrong, I would love for you to prove me. I mean, because I just kind of, I'll say a topic and maybe some people don't understand like what I mean. Like, oh, money's a scam. Like, oh, what the fuck? Everything is a gamble in life, right? Whether you drive your car down the road, you're gambling that someone doesn't fucking hit you and kill you, right? If you're taking a gamble all the time, whether it's I'm taking a gamble and meeting a new person and hoping that they like me and hoping that I don't get my feelings hurt if they don't, right? Or whatever. I'm saying, you know, somebody out there that maybe that's their thing. They like making new friends, but it's all based on this process, you know, of like seeking what validates you, right? But money, because it's infinite, like how many dollar bills are in the world?
No idea.
No idea, right? So
Ide once told me that you told her, like, look, the grass, something like that, and you told her, like, imagine all the grass with dollars. That's how much it is.
So for example, like you just said, you don't know how many dollars exist in the world, right? Nobody really knows how many dollars, because there's so many. Like maybe you could figure it out on like somehow, I don't know, but it'd be very hard to tell it like how many exist, right? And they keep printing more into existence all the time. So if you come from that perspective, you're like, okay, there's a bunch of dollars in the world, and I don't know how many exist, but there's a bunch, because there's a bunch of millionaires, there's a bunch of billionaires, and I'm sure there's even trillionaires that they don't want you to know who they are, right? But what I mean by that is there's so much money that you could essentially go to the beach, you know, all the grains of sand at the beach. How many grains of sand are there at the beach?
Infinite.
There's a bunch, right? You couldn't tell me how many grains of sand there are at the beach, right? That's the same thing, right? So we just established that money, we don't know how many exist. There's just a lot, right? And then we go to the beach and we also understand that there is a lot and we can't put a number on it, right? Because so that those are equal. They keep printing more. Sand keeps existing, like in a sense of like rocks keep getting broken down into sand, right? It's infinite, right? The process that will continue. So money and sand are basically the same thing. You see, but the people, all of us, we give it value by trading it around. What people don't understand is that in like, so at least for the US, I'm not sure how it was for other countries and stuff like that, but in like, I believe it was like 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into existence. So before that, money was actually backed by something. So you can redeem your money for gold. You can't do that today. It's all fiat currency, meaning that it's all just paper money that can just be printed into existence endlessly by politicians or, you know, government. It's really been a silent takeover of our monetary system over the last 100 years, and nobody's even realized it. Does that make sense?
But like, how is like, why it controls us? Because I understand the concept, like we can let money control us, but we can also use it to that's what I think crypto is trying to do.
Yeah. So okay, if something is infinite and it's worthless, and now I make you work for it and pay me some of that back.
Okay.
And you have to decide on something that I don't know how to describe it. So it's infinite as far as like the organizations that print it into existence, right? You don't know what they do with all of the money in the government. How do you know they're not lining their pockets with money and buying whatever the hell they want and doing whatever they want with it? So these organizations, these central banks, or, you know, the Federal Reserve, for example, in the United States, it's a giant cartel, basically. Think, you know, like you're very familiar with this like concept. You know, I used to live in Arizona, so like drug trafficking and like narco organizations were very common where I was from, right? Colombia, kind of same thing. You know, you have, cartel organizations, right? Would you say? So,
Yes, yes.
so it's the same concept, except they run money. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you have these huge organizations that control money and how it's printed into existence, how it's distributed through the banks. You get a loan out on your, like you take a loan, right, to buy a car or something. You buy a house. You have to pay the banks back all of that money plus more. So they're creating money out of nowhere just for loaning it to you.
But do you recognize the money in what, like at the beginning, and it still is something that makes us easier to trade energy, like your time?
Yeah.
Your
So that's okay. To transition into crypto real quick. All crypto is just a better accounting system. So instead of there being an infinite amount of dollar bills in the world, now we're saying, okay, look, there's only going to be this amount of coins, let's say like, digital coins. And you can take this one coin and you can break it into a million pieces. So I can have 1/1,000,000th of a coin that is worth whatever the world values it at based on the current system that we have. Does that make sense?
yes.
So until people realize that they're getting screwed over through paying insane taxes to the government, I believe in like local tax on like goods and services and things like that. But what I don't agree with is federal income tax. The federal government is robbing people.
Okay. I love ones that I ask you, like, but how do you think, like, we need an administration? How do you think the new system will be if there were no taxes? And you tell me something about like an application and everyone puts like money, like more free, a freer way.
We both can agree that politicians are scumbags, right? Can we just make that assumption? Well, maybe not all of them, but a good majority of the people that are in government.
I believe that they are a good reflection of society. So we're gonna see everything that.
Okay, so you have that perspective. I have a different perspective.
Okay.
I think that politicians are in it for themselves.
Okay.
They live a short life, 100-year life, and the system was here, before them, and it's going to be here after them, maybe, right? So they're just in it for themselves and their families.
But I do believe governments are gonna have to change. Like, it's like monarchy is still existing. Like I do believe that the way government works right now doesn't work. But I do like the way you told me, like this system of creating applications and something more like more united. Because I do think when people say the state has, like in Colombia, I hear a lot like the state is the one that has the fault, but actually we all are the state. So
So to answer your question, I guess, is, in my opinion, humans, by human nature, I call it I think I've heard this somewhere, the human condition, right? We are susceptible to a couple different downfalls as humans. You with me?
Yes.
Meaning, we can get greedy. I want all this for me, right? We can be like jealous of what somebody else has, right? We have a couple of these different processes that work in in humans. It's just a natural evolutionary process that I think has been written in our like DNA, if you will, because of the past and how we used to live in, like, let's say hunter-gatherer tribes or whatever. If, you know, if we didn't have these processes, we wouldn't survive as well, right?
Yes.
So now that we're in a society that we don't need to be like that, we could share everything, and we would have like enough to go around, and there wouldn't be homeless people. Instead of that being the world where everyone shares and all that, what we have is, because of these processes of our past that are ingrained in us, to be like, I need to hoard all this food for myself and my tribe. We have what we have today, like obviously the greed, but it stems from money, because money is controlled by people, right? Whether you know it or not, there are people that control money. The entire monetary system is controlled by like a handful of organized groups of people, right? So from that perspective, if you know that, you should know that the system isn't built for you to succeed. So the way that I feel like I would solve that is take humans out of the equation of control. So like Krypto is trying to do, certain projects are, I think, on a good path to the future. I believe cryptocurrency is like the internet back when the internet first came out. I think that cryptocurrency is still in that stage. It's going to take like another 5 to 10 years for the development to catch up to the world, in my opinion, for people to understand it, and like the applications to be built, like it to be more readily available to everybody. I think it's going to take a little bit more time. But through that, what you can do is, instead of money, laws, and all that stuff, like monetary policy, instead of that stuff being ran by people, you could have it ran by computer code, meaning it will only ever do this function. It can never be interfered with through human greed, through human, whatever. And the only way that it could be messed with, in a sense, or changed, would be through a majority, like, consensus piece. So everybody owns a piece of the pie, if you will. So it's all automated, and everyone has their own individuality in this. But right now we're all controlled by governments, really. You are a commodity traded on the stock market. They own you. Whether you believe me or not, look into it. Like, here we have something called the birth certificate. What the birth certificate is really just the government's way of like making you into a business to trade with. That's why you have to pay taxes and things like that, because you are a business when you were born. They set you up as a corporation to do business with you. That's why your signature means something. That's why, they can legally bind you to shit, because you are a corporation by birth. And your parents signed the shit, the paperwork. They don't even know what they're signing, because it's a part of a bigger plan that you don't understand, because it was a system that was here before you were even a thought. People have been controlling people for thousands of years. You think you're not controlled? You think you're not brainwashed by propaganda? Like, that's what I'm trying to get people to understand, is that we're all brainwashed to whatever extent. And you don't even know it. I'm still brainwashed by my own culture, my own society, and until you break free of that and you start thinking for yourself, you're like, okay, this feels right. This doesn't. This energy is what I want. This energy is not. we're going to have the same problems, because like, I think that the way that all this could be fixed really is if you solve the money issue. You made everybody not, I wouldn't say equal, because like people will like always find a way to just be, I don't know, like you're going to have good people, you're going to have bad people in the world, always. Just like, you know, you have good and bad animals all the time. Like there's some of them that just happen to get rabies, or there's all these different, there's so many possibilities in life that you're not going to just have a standard, right? But money can at least start the early foundation for love and a stable home, and these things that kind of get out of control. So like, for example, if I am a kid, right? I just was born. You take two kids, right? I get a loving family. Just this is by just the luck of the cards. Everybody has a different card in life, right? I'm a kid that had a loving family. They paid for me to go to college. I got a good job, had all these opportunities, right? And I have a good life now. You take another kid, his dad was in prison and his mom was on drugs. And he didn't have any money. He was starving all the time. So in order for him to, to eat, he would have to steal food or have to rob people for money, for money to pay for food, right? And then maybe he gets in trouble and goes to jail for doing these crimes, and when he was just trying to eat. Everybody has a different situation. But that kid did those things because he didn't have love. He didn't. So when you don't have love as a kid, you don't have safety, you don't have these things, these things that you should have, right? That even you see animals that do this for their young. Like a kangaroo has a little pouch right here so that the little Joey can go inside, and feel safe and loved and warm. When a human doesn't have that as a kid, right? As a baby, you run the risk of having mental illness, which, let's say mental illness does arise. So because your brain forms from these things, from love. You can change your brain when you're young. It can form healthy or it can form negative. It's all about the energy that you have. But let's go back to the kid thing. Like this kid developed mental illness, and now from that he can't get a job, or maybe he is, he does something crazy, again, goes back to jail, maybe does something, he can't really get his life together, so he can't get a job now, right? Now he's on the streets. There's drugs on the streets. He's mentally ill and he's on the street. He has nothing to do. Like you see the ever spiraling out of control that situation caused just from the beginning. But the beginning, if you go back, even from the beginning, his mom was addicted to drugs because of the same cycle, right? You go back in her life, it's the same cycle. Maybe her parents beat her as a child and she developed mental illness, right? And then she started taking drugs and then she's on the street. But then you go back even further, right? Okay, why was her parents beating her, right? Because they were stressed out over money and they were fighting all the time and they didn't have enough money, which caused problems in the house, which the dad left. And then the mom started doing drugs and then beat her child. And so it's all of these things that go back to money in the very beginning. Money is the problem.
I find something beautiful about what you just said. I want to make two parentheses. The first one is like, I think it's beautiful that this connects to the Fibonacci theory, because kind of the structures of the squares are like this base that lets the kid grow up like more naturally, more safe, or like grow more beautifully. But also recognizing that is not only that structure, but that inside you find those tools to what are you gonna create with that structure, because many people have like the first story, like sorry, the second one, that is like kind of more stable, but didn't they don't know how to love, and they get in trouble and everything because they don't decide, like they, even with all the tools and although that stability and that masculine energy kind of, they don't know how to use it, and even with all those tools they go to like take decisions from fear from other places. And there's also the, like I said, also with my life, and it's like I also have like dysfunctional situations in my when I was a child, and it was not so easy to get there, but I still have to find a ways to find reasons to love. So I think it's like that balance between creating that structure that crypto is looking for to create more like balance, that masculine energy, but also that people have more tools to make the spiral and have this feminine energy that is that ability to love, or that ability to find love in tough situations.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you summed it up pretty well there. I really, I think that crypto really, like, maybe I can just tweak a little bit of the last thing you said about crypto. I think crypto, the way that it can change everything is that it's taking a system that we have right now, right? We obviously need something to exchange our energy, right? Our values, our talents, our worth, right? But we need something that's rare, that's scarce, something that, because that's what really represents us. We are rare. We are scarce in a sense of our talents and our abilities and our, so the people that aren't putting out their energies, their worth, they're not going to have as much of, the things that you would transact, if you will. So it's like crypto is, I think, a way that you can put a finite amount on something and people can trade it as it's valued. Because I think that each thing is different. I don't know how to describe it, but we've already come to the conclusion that something that's infinite doesn't really have a value. Like, how much does air cost to breathe? It's
Nothing
free.
right now.
But I bet you if the government could figure out a way to tax you on that, they would. Right? They tax you on everything. Everything. So one more little thing, and then I actually have to go because I got to go to the gym here shortly. But one little concept that people don't realize happens is like when you go to the bank and let's say you put $1,000 in the bank, right? There's something called, the whole system, the way it works is called fractional reserve lending. Look into it if you can. Fractional reserve lending, what it is basically that the bank only has to keep 10%. Let's just do 10% as a rough number, because all banks are different depending on what the laws are and whatever. But it's as low as 3% sometimes. Like that's what, like the lowest I think is somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that, but like let's say 10%. So we'll go with 10%. So you put $1,000 in the bank, and the bank gets to take $900 out and then loan it to somebody else, right? And in that process, they get to put placeholders in your account to where it looks like you have $900, right? And then what they do is they loan it out to somebody, and then that person buys something with that $900, right? Let's say he buys a cheap car. I don't know, a really, really cheap car with that $900. And he now has a car, but he has to pay back $900 plus interest, right? Over time, because he took a loan out, right? To get that $900. So the guy that he bought the car from, he takes the $900 from that guy and he puts it in his bank, right? And then the bank gets to loan 90% of that out to some guy and charge him more money than what he took out in a loan, right? And he buys something and that guy puts it in his bank and the bank gets to loan it out again. So they just keeps getting loaned out and loaned out and loaned out and loaned out all the way down. To where basically $1,000 will create $10,000 in money. Do you see? That's how the system works. They are constantly inflating the money supply right in front of your eyes and you don't see it. That is why Venezuela went from one of the most not powerful countries, but they had a pretty good system, right? Like their money was valuable and shit at one point.
Petroleum.
They had reserves, right? And now the money is worthless because they kept inflating the money supply so much that the costs of everything, like gasoline or food and all these things, soaked up all of that as far as the price. Does that make sense? So you're seeing that across the board everywhere. Like, let's say 10 years ago in Colombia, does 5 mil buy you the same thing as it did 10 years ago? Or no? No, right? That's inflation because they keep printing more of it. You need to get into crypto that is deflationary. Do your own research and look into the ones that are deflationary, meaning that they destroy some of the coins over time, meaning they become more rare, more valuable. Those are the ones to get into.
Yes.
So we need to have just a crypto podcast one of these days.
Yes. Yeah, I think here they can know the way this podcast was important, so they can understand the way you think, and we can go deeper on another podcast. But thank you for all your time and your knowledge. And you're going to jiu-jitsu?
Yes, I'm going to jiu-jitsu today.
Okay, great. So have a good time and thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you
so much.
And say hi to Eden.
I will. I love you. You have a good
I
one.
love you too. Bye.